Hi, I'm Delia and I'm reading 2 pages from Catcher in the Rye. I didn't have anything special to do, so I went down to the can and chewed the rag with him while he was shaving. We were the only ones in the can because everybody was still down at the game. It was hot as hell and the windows were all steamy. There were about 10 wash bowls all right against the wall. Stradlater had the middle one. I sat down on the one right next to him and started turning the cold water on and off. This nervous habit I have. Stradlater kept whistling Song of India while he shaved. He had one of those very piercing whistles that are practically never in tune, and he always picked out some song that's hard to whistle even if you're a good whistler, like Song of India or Slaughter on 10th Avenue. He could really mess a song up. You remember I said before that Ackley was a slob in his personal habits? Well, so was Stradlater, but in a different way. Stradlater was more of a secret slob. He always looked all right, Stradlater, but for instance, you should have seen the razor he shaved himself with. It was always rusty as hell and full of lather and hairs and crap. He never cleaned it or anything. He always looked good when he was finished fixing himself up, but he was a secret slob anyway, if you knew him the way I did. The reason he fixed himself up to look good was because he was madly in love with himself. He thought he was the handsomest guy in the Western Hemisphere. He was pretty handsome, too, I'll admit it, but he was mostly the kind of a handsome guy that if your parents saw his picture in the yearbook, they'd right away say, "Who's this boy?" I mean, he was mostly a yearbook kind of handsome guy. I knew a lot of guys at Pensy I thought were a lot handsomer than Stradlater, but they wouldn't look handsome if you saw their pictures in the yearbook. They'd look like they had big noses or their ears stuck out. I've had that experience frequently. Anyway, I was sitting on the wash bowl next to where Stradlater was shaving, sort of turning the water on and off. I still had my red hunting hat on, with the peak around to the back and all. I really got a bang out of that hat.
Today I will be reading an excerpt from Animal Farm by George Orwell. I read this book a while ago and it's been one of my favorite books because of the complexity that was put into the animals and their roles on the farm. Just reading it was a really nice experience for me because it was such a planned out book and it was really enjoyable for me to read. I will be reading an excerpt on my iPad because of the situation we are living right now. I was not able to get my hands on a physical copy. This excerpt is from chapter 5. In January there came a bitterly hard weather. The earth was like iron, and nothing could be done in the fields. Many meetings were held in the big barn, and the pigs occupied themselves with planning out the work of the coming season. It had come to be accepted that the pigs, who were manifestly cleverer than the other animals, should decide all the questions of the farm policy. Through their decisions had to be ratified by a majority vote. This arrangement would have worked well enough if it had not been for the disputes between Snowball and Napoleon. These two disagreed at every point where disagreement was possible. If one of them suggested sowing a bigger acreage with barley, the other was certain to demand a bigger acreage of oats, and if one of them said that such and such a field was just right for cabbages, the other would declare that it was useless for anything except roots. Each had his own following, and there were some violent debates. At the meetings, Snowball often won over the majority by his brilliant speeches, but Napoleon was better at canvassing support for himself in between times. He was especially successful with the sheep. Of late the sheep had taken to bleating 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, both in and out of season, and they often interrupted the meeting with this. It was noticed that they were especially liable to break into 4 legs good, 2 legs bad at crucial moments in Snowball's speeches. Thank you.
So today I'm going to be reading from my favorite banned or challenged book, which is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. I'm going to be reading 2 pages from the chapter Good Form. It's time to be blunt. I'm 43 years old, true, and I'm a writer now, and a long time ago I walked through Kong Nai province as a foot soldier. Almost everything else is invented. But it's not a game, it's a form. Right here, now, as I invent myself, I'm thinking of all I want to tell you about why this book is written as it is. For instance, I want to tell you this. 20 years ago, I watched a man die on a trail near the village of Maike. I did not kill him, but I was present, you see, and my presence was guilt enough. I remember his face, which was not a pretty face, because his jaw was in his throat, and I remember feeling the burden of responsibility and grief. I blamed myself, and rightly so, because I was present. But listen, even that story is made up. I want you to feel what I felt. I want you to know why story truth is truer sometimes than happening truth. Here is the happening truth. I was once a soldier.
I know you're still young, but I want you to understand and learn this now, he said. Marriage can wait. Education cannot. You're a very, very bright girl. Truly you are. You can be anything you want, Layla. I know this about you. And I also know that when this war is over, Afghanistan is going to need you as much as it needs men. Maybe even more. Because a society has no chance of success if its women aren't educated, Layla. No chance.